just entered the bear crawling nation on the No Agenda Stream.
This is R. Mordant McFall, and welcome to the other side of live. Welcome, everybody, to the number one late night country-crossing motivational show, otherwise known as the other side of live. Tonight's working title for the episode is Cross the Finish Line. And tonight we are live from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and deep in the Bear's Den in Monticello, Georgia. First of all, in Monticello, Georgia, is my internet challenge buddy, my pal, the dark side of positive, Charles McFall. Say hello, Charles.
Yeah. Hello, Charles.
How's the storms there in Georgia?
You know, you would not have thought moving to a lake community would have thrown as much havoc my way, but this is like in 1 month of the year that havoc comes every night. And what you would get in a summer thunderstorm, we get stuff that knocks out power and internet and everything else. So that's what I'm facing right now. I might be able to join in real time later. The storm has passed, but right now I'm on the phone. So there we go.
Well, welcome to the interweb. Any way you can get here. Tonight we have a special guest star, our old friend. I don't like the way that sounds. Our good friend, Allison Williams, is back. We are actually sitting in her house. Welcome.
We are. We're in the upstairs room that barely became ready before the amazing Mordant and his crew of motley beings descended on my home.
I have two of those motley beings are still on the way here. One will get here at 3:30 in the morning. And the other one is, I don't know, maybe during the show he'll show up. I don't know.
It's all good. I'm sure there's more floor space somewhere.
Yeah. So what have you been up to, Allison? I know you've been busy with, life and stuff.
Yeah, well, since last we talked, I've spent time in India and South Africa, both doing my show and taking some personal time. I've also been doing corporate events and festivals and school outreach throughout the Southeast. I wrote an essay about a popular American reality television show, and the essay has gone viral, which is kind of cool. I was featured in the New York Times, interviewed by the New York Post, and I'm actually getting ready to do my summer tour and then take 6 months off, which I'm very excited about.
Wow. She does stuff. We talk about doing stuff, and we do a little bit, but you do stuff. That's great.
Thanks. And the hard part is, I love being motivational, but when it really comes down to it, it's, you got to get out there and actually do the work too.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember what author. I wanted to find this quote and put it in here, and I just forgot to pursue that. But there is an author, some female author.
You're thinking of Nora Roberts and Ass in Chair.
I am thinking of Nora Roberts and Ass in Chair.
Yeah.
She says that's the one way to, the only way you're going to get stuff done is get your ass in a chair.
And Nora Roberts, I want to say she writes 6 books a year. She writes either 3 or 6 books a year. She writes books under Nora Roberts. She writes books as J.D. Robb that are her kind of hard-boiled detective novels. She writes classic romance novels, kind of like Danielle Steele, large-scale epic romance novels. And The New Yorker did a brilliant profile on her about a year and a half ago, actually, because I think you and I talked about it at the time. And the interviewer said, how is it that you are so prolific? What's the secret to writing that many books that are almost all bestsellers? And she said 3 words: ass in chair.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And is the, we could talk about motivating and stirring the quantum soup and bringing the opportunities to us, and being in the right place at the right time. But unless you're the right person in the right place at the right time, unless you're willing to do that work that's necessary to get you there, and what everybody's going to assume is, oh, wow, you're so lucky. Everything just fell on your lap. Look at those stars. Yeah. They were just discovered. And they don't realize the amount of work that they put into things so that they were ready at those times.
Almost no one is an overnight success.
Right.
I saw the Katy Perry movie the other night, and we think, Katy Perry, bubblegum pop princess, her life must be so easy. Big hits, music not very meaningful, blah, blah, blah. And I watched this tour documentary, and she produced it, so of course it's going to show her in a good light, but it shows video of her performing when she was 8, performing when she was 13, performing when she was 15, and performing when she was 19. And her first record label spent 5 years with her refusing to put out an album because they didn't like what she wanted to be.
Right.
And she's still playing coffee shops while they around about not putting out her record because she wants to make music so bad that she will get out there and do whatever she has to do to make music. She didn't wait for her big break. She worked her ass off until the big break came.
Right. And you mentioned something this morning over coffee, how you likened her to Michael Jackson. And do you remember why it was?
Because she and Michael Jackson are the only performers ever to have 5 singles off of one album. 5 number one singles off of one album. Michael Jackson had 5 number one singles off of Bad, and Katy Perry had 5 number one singles off of Teenage Dream.
Wow.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
I got to say, I like a couple of those songs.
Yeah. They're fun, and and they tap into how people want to feel because people want to feel fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the self-deprecating humor that she does. I think it was the last Friday night video where she's got the huge honkin' retainer
and the glasses and the braids.
The kids from Glee were there. She had Hanson in there.
She's wandering around with toilet paper on her shoe. She doesn't take herself too seriously.
No.
Yeah.
No, she's just a darling, and she's also doing stuff.
Yeah, and she worked incredibly hard until some rich and powerful people recognized what she was doing, you know. But there's another quote that I love that's a little bit longer from one of my favorite authors, Terry Pratchett, who's a wonderful fantasy author who is writing social commentary described as fantasy, disguised as fantasy. And one of his great characters, Granny Weatherwax, says, if you dream big dreams and you wish on a star, you'll still be sitting at home while somebody who worked their tail off got out there and did something.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about, and that's part of what tonight's show, Cross the Finish Line. I messed around with the title a little bit. At first I had Crossing the Finish Line because that felt good. I looked good on the page, and I'm just like, no,
cross, though.
I want it more of a do, cross the finish line, do that thing. I want to throw out there, because it's time for me to do so, I want to throw out there our phone number. If you want to give a call in, speak to me, speak to Charles, speak to Allison, talk about Cross the Finish Line, or even Katy Perry. The number is 218-632-1724, and you will be instructed to 333-POUND when you get in there. Now, last week's episode, we always talk about last week's episode. Tosol, episode number 51, was goal-getting MTO style. And it was our Success Freaks episode. Charles,
what does MTO style mean?
It's the 3 different kinds of goal setting. In order to become successful, and every time you set a goal, you set your minimum goal, which is something that you're going to achieve. You do it anyways. You do it all the time. You set your minimum goal. You set your target goal, the thing that you're really shooting for. And then you set that thing that Charles is infamous for.
Does it stand for optimal?
It stands for outrageous.
Ooh, even better.
Even better. Charles, do you have any kind of are you still with us?
I am still here. Thank you.
Excellent. Do you have anything to say about the outrageous goals?
Just that people tend to undershoot outrageous. And again, I wanted to put out the offer on Facebook.com/BCN Tosol. You can come there and say, hey, this is my outrageous. Mr. Charles, can you take it bigger? And I'll take it 3 steps bigger. Because last week, as we found out, people just undershoot themselves. I've done it all my life until, actually, I always overshot. I always was outrageous, and I had people push me down into the normal. And we were watching the chat room last week as we talked, and their outrageous was always coming in under. I'm not saying I'm the king of outrageous. I'm just saying, I'm pretty outrageous when it comes to dreams, and I can help you with yours. So I like that.
I love that phrase you used, push you down, because I have this image of you, Charles, as being like a weeble that bounces right up. Doesn't anybody else remember weebles? Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Don't fall down.
Yeah, and they tip it over and they put it back up again. Yeah.
So.
And it's really neat too, this cross the finish line thing in terms of like outrageous goals, because I think a lot of getting to the finish line is maybe setting the finish line a little further than we think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think yes.
Well, I think it's much like the EDOs, the endurance races that go across Africa, whereas you get to a checkpoint, or better yet for the American audience, the Amazing Race, where it's never over till it's over. It's a leg of the race, and you exhaust yourself, and you push yourself, and you get to that checkpoint. That's your finish line for today. But tomorrow you got to get back up and run that next leg of the race.
Right. Yeah, you just got to get yes, but you got to finish everything as so many of us have so many projects open. So many of us have so many things that we have, we keep ourselves so busy that we're not really accomplishing too much of anything. How many of those are really close to completion? I know I have a lot of projects open, and I had a good time. I had a good time today as I banged my mic. I had a good time today finishing some things that I've just been not really wanting to work on, and then it took me a full day to get them done, but oh my God, these things are off my plate now, and now I can concentrate on this other stuff.
Are we on to this week's topic yet?
We are on to this week's topic.
Awesome.
We are now moved to cross the finish line.
Because here's one of the things I wanted to kind of discuss with you right off the bat here is this idea that it just takes some self-discipline to cross the finish line. That's all it takes. It just takes self-discipline. I'm in a writing contest right now, and I wrote a piece where I ended up discussing with someone in the comments the value of an MFA, a Master's of Fine Arts. Go to grad school, spend 3 years in class focusing on your writing. And someone said, well, do you think an MFA is really necessary? And I said, well, I don't think it's necessary unless you want to teach. But for me, it was really valuable to spend 3 years in a place with deadlines and assignments.
Right.
Because that helps me write. That keeps me going. And the person responded, I think really all it takes is a writer just has to have a little self-discipline, and you could do the same thing in 3 years and it wouldn't cost you $30,000. And that phrase, a little self-discipline, it's so, I think it's such a naive little phrase there, because it's not a little self-discipline. It's a tremendous amount of self-discipline. It is a huge amount of self-discipline. And I think so often we're working towards our goals and our dreams and feeling crappy about ourselves because we're not getting there, or we took too many days off, or we're not feeling well, or we're stuck, or we're discouraged, or we're overwhelmed, and we're thinking, if only I had some self-discipline. And I think self-discipline is a much bigger thing than people tend to assume it is. You could lose that weight if you just had some self-discipline. You could exercise every day if you just had some self-discipline. You could be on a budget if you just had some self-discipline. Well, if it was so damn easy, everyone would be doing it. And so I think that can lead us into maybe a little bit of discussion of the tactics you can use when you have the normal self-discipline that everyone has, and not the superhuman self-discipline and army of staff like Martha Stewart has.
Right, and I think those people are trained up in that way. We talked a few episodes ago about how there is no such thing as really a natural. A person's a natural. It's this divine talent that you have that you move forward with. And it's like people mention Tiger Woods, they mention Mozart, and both of those people were trained by their fathers.
From a very young age.
Yes, and they were lucky that they had those fathers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have developed themselves. And they broke down how each of them had worked to become the person they were. And it wasn't this God-given talent, although I believe they have a God-given talent. But I think that talent might come from the father.
My theory is that talent is the aptitude that makes it fun to practice. Talent is what makes it pleasant to sit down at the piano or walk out to the tennis court every day. Because if you have a little bit of aptitude for something, you're more likely to get better. And when you get better, it's more fun to practice.
Right.
But I think dedicated practice is a lot of it. When you say, fathers training their children, Judith Polgar, the world's youngest chess grandmaster, she was trained by her father, and so was her sister.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And there was it was how much they applied themselves as well. There was another sister who did all right, but didn't do as well. And they even said from an early age she didn't apply herself as much.
Yeah.
She wasn't as into this. And each of the daughters, they chose to, we're going to go and have families and have kids now and blah, 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 blah. They got to a certain point, and I think they stopped. The book Talent is Overrated. It talks about that family. Mm-hmm. It talks about the father, actually, he's a Russian. Hungarian. He put out like an ad in a newspaper going, I want to do this. I want to meet with a woman. We're going to have children, and we're going to raise them to do this.
Wow.
And some woman said, I'll do it. And they went out and they did it. And they proved that they were able to become among the best champions in the world for chess.
Yeah, I believe Judith Polgar was one of the youngest grandmasters ever, and I think she was the youngest woman grandmaster in her time.
Now, I want to get back to, you say MMA? MA? I'm thinking, I'm losing. When you're studying for whatever it is.
MFA, Masters of Fine Arts.
Like, MMA, that's the fighters. Your MFA.
You're writing, you're kicking, you're punching, you're writing, you're kicking, you're punching.
Oh no, dangling participle. one of the things that comes with going to school is not only are you learning that discipline and you're in there all the time working on that thing, but also you're having to face yourself and facing your own ability. Because I've gone to a group of people, and I've mentioned this a number of times before, where I showed them some of what we did on the other side of live, and I expected all accolades and, oh, you're so wonderful. And I got that. I really did. And then they said, but you need to work on this. And I was like, what? And it took me a little while to get through all of that. So I think that when you're studying, and you're studying for your MFA, as Rock Girl puts down in the chat room, when you're studying for your MFA, you're forced to take a good look at your own ability and really work on it, really hone on it, and really realize, wow, I'm good, but I'm not great. If I want to be great, I have to work harder. It's not natural ability, and right now it's not necessarily fun. And I think going to school is what you need for that, because a little bit of discipline on your own ain't going to cut it.
You need that outside feedback. You need that outside person saying to you, oh, maybe this is working, maybe this is not working for you. And I think in an entrepreneurial situation, that's one of the roles of your coach, or if you get into a small business owners group, that can be one of their roles as well.
Right. Now, we do have a caller that I'm going to let into
a caller?
Oh, that's right.
A gentleman caller.
He is a gentleman, and he is calling us. Shadow42, my friend, how are you?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Wow.
We're doing a radio show. That's what's going on. It's Kalamazoo. It's 85 degrees and pleasant out. How are you?
Oh, that's nice. It's 142 here in Tulsa.
Am I going to see you soon?
Do what?
Am I going to see you soon?
Yes, last weekend in July.
That's right. You're going to be at the Black Rock Medieval Fair Renaissance Festival. I don't know. That thing that we're doing soon.
That thing you do.
Yeah.
So thank you for calling in, sir. Did you have a question or a comment?
More of a comment. You guys have kind of been following the saga of my CD project.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. The story kind of got more interesting today. We talked about how first that when it was procrastination and how I needed to get it finished, and then we finally got it finished. And then the label there were some issues there with trying to get it released. Well, finally, a couple weeks ago, we got it released. Today, and this is I found this apropos, if you will, because I saw the topic earlier about crossing the finish line, because I felt like, hey, I have crossed a finish line. I got that project done. It's released. It's out in the wild. Well, today I get an email from the man that runs the label, and he is shutting down the music part of his company, and so he returned control of the tracks to me.
Oh.
So I was like, so I got over the finish line, and then they took the race away. So I thought that would just kind of, it's okay. Now you have to start over. Basically, I have to start over and go, okay, now what do I do to get this project back out there? Don't get me wrong, I have some avenues, and I actually did release it again on my SoundCloud. It's all out there. You can actually stream the whole thing for free as well as purchase it. This guy's point was people just don't pay for music anymore, and he just sounded really discouraged, and there was nothing that I could say to point out that, yeah, people do buy music, but it's, you have to not quit on it. But anyway, I thought it was kind of appropriate because, I finished that race, so to speak, or at least that portion of the race, and then it seems like, oh, wait, now you're right back at the beginning, and now time to start over and run the race again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you're starting from a much further place because now you have the album tracks, which you didn't have before.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And I actually have, in this case, more control because this was an exclusive deal with them and not, so I couldn't release it separate from that company, whereas now I can put this out on Amazon, iTunes.
And
cetera,
this sounds to me like a classic situation. Mordant said something to me many years ago that I've always remembered which is this is an opportunity disguised as a problem. And I think it's really awesome of you that you're looking to these other resources, going out to Amazon, going out to the cloud, and using this as an opportunity to leap forward, possibly in a different direction than you intended, but to keep moving forward.
So congratulations.
Go ahead.
I said, so congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And I did put a link up earlier in the chat room to it.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, definitely make sure that we get your link so that we can pimp you out in the show notes as well.
I will do it.
And I look forward to talking to you soon in just a few weeks.
Yep. What is it? 2-3 weeks?
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks. About 3 weeks.
All right,
Anyway,
brother.
I thought that was kind of interesting, so I will talk to you guys later.
Congratulations again.
Thanks, man.
And I think that's a really interesting place, which is what happens when you get to what you thought was the finish line, and it turns out that the finish line is somewhere else. It turns out you're not where you thought you are. I went on reality TV a couple of years ago and won $250,000 and financed an indoor touring circus show. And I got to tell you, winning the money felt like reaching the finish line. And then having to put the show together felt like reaching the finish line. And then I discovered that the finish line is actually around getting booked, and I'm not there yet. I'm not even close to there. And it's a really discouraging process, and it's really challenging to keep going and to keep finding resources to help you cross the finish line.
Well, couldn't that also be viewed as getting this finish line right now, getting this part of the project done now, and then you'll assess the road after you cross that line? It's a bunch of little successes versus, discouraging that it keeps moving.
And I think you're right, Charles. I think little successes are really a great way to look at it. Little steps and little successes, because then you're mentally rewarding yourself as you continue to move forward, and it becomes a more fun process and a less discouraging process.
Yes.
So, Mordant, what do you use to keep yourself moving? What's your finish line right now?
Well, right now, Charles and I have just accomplished a finish line, which is the beginning of the race for us.
Uh-huh.
We've been talking the last couple of weeks. Before that, even, we were talking about our super secret ninja project, and now everybody knows that we have submitted to New Media Expo, formerly Blog World, and we're getting ready to submit to South by Southwest, although we've seen a slight hiccup there.
Uh-huh.
And there's such a sense of accomplishment that came with that. It's like, oh, look, and we just finished our, today, I think we're very close to finishing our 4th submission to the Blog World people. It's such a sense of accomplishment. But I realize here, the thing is, once they start saying, yes, we want you for this, that's when the fun begins. That's when the work begins.
Yeah.
Then we've got to make sure that we have something all put together. Everything that we've put together is really honed and polished enough, and yet in our own, wonderfully sloppy style, to be able to present to people at these big seminar conventions.
Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge of leveling up, is every time you complete a level, the next level is harder.
Right.
And part of it is, as you move through each level, noticing what tools you use and making those tools better so that you can use those tools again on the next level and have a better sense of how they will help you.
Right. I think it's all about keeping in the game, too. We were talking about... with the hiccup that we hit with South by Southwest, they're asking not only for the submission, but they want a video about it. And we're like, oh. And then there's a couple of other things that once they get the video, they're going to go, okay, now we want this.
Yeah.
Okay, and we don't know what those things are yet.
Yeah.
So Charles and I were talking about whether or not we should even move forward with this. And sometimes it's the action for the action's sake.
Yeah.
You do it for the sake of just doing it, so that you're not stopping and saying, okay, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
You've got that forward momentum. So and everything we've created so far, we're able to use elsewhere. Now we've got, these conversations that we're going to be able to pimp out anywhere else that we want to do this. We've got our bio done. If we do this video, we're going to have the video done for something else.
Yep. And now it's a tool in your toolkit instead of a hurdle to jump.
Yes.
And so maybe that's one of the challenges towards crossing the finish line, is how do you take each hurdle that you reach and go, this is a hurdle to jump, but once I have jumped it, I can turn around and it is a tool for my toolkit.
Yeah.
And it's good to have with me.
But one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight with crossing the finish line is all these little projects that people have open. I've got a million projects that are up, and with all these new projects, there's that draw to, let me just do this one more thing.
Yeah.
Let me just, I've really got to work on this. Charles is always laughing at me because I have my internet browsers with all these tabs open.
Yeah.
And now I've got 2 different browsers that I'm rocking, and they all are full of tabs.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to forget I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. All these things are these little minute projects that I have going on that I have to take care of that.
So hang on, I'm hearing the phrase, have to. Why do you have to
That
take
I
care
want
of them?
to take care
Yeah,
of.
because you don't have to do anything.
No, I could just
You
say,
may
yeah.
not like the consequences if you don't.
Right.
But you don't have to do anything.
But
So if it's in your browser, it's there because you've chosen to do it, because you want to do
Absolutely.
it.
Yes.
And that's one of the secrets towards crossing the finish line, is being able to look at your work. Because honestly, I mean, we're listening to this show. We are part of the Mordant world. We are part of the Bear Crawling Nation because we want to change our lives. This is not stuff we have to do. We have to go to our day job. We have to feed our families. But all of these things, these are things we want to do. And it helps us get them done when we look and go, this is the next thing I want to do for what I'm doing. And even just that one little word, changing have to want, can make us feel better about moving forward towards the finish line.
Right, and I certainly felt better today about working on the things. What was interesting about being in while I was in North Carolina, I had taken a day job, a 30-hour-a-week day job.
You took a day job?
I took a day
What
job.
did you do? Hang on. I want to envision it. Okay, in my head, you're wearing a green apron and you're saying, skinny mocha latte for Charlie.
No, but close. I was mixing lotion candles, and I smelled very pretty at the end
I
of the day.
bet you smelled delightful.
I did. You could just eat me up with a straw.
And so I shall.
But I while I was there, I'm always hustling, always working. And it was even said, why don't you take a break? I'm like, yeah, I got stuff I can do. So today was kind of like my first non-work day, where I'm like, instead of being lazy about it, I still had that carryover of that 30-hour-week job where I'm like, I want to do something, and not get lost on Facebook, and not get, playing some video game, not get lost. I traveled so far, I just want to relax.
One of the most productive times of my life was when I was working as a temp, because in between filing and answering phones, I was working on my own projects. I mean, this was back in the days when free photocopies was a really big deal, because we didn't send anything by email. You had to mail that stuff.
I don't understand.
And so abusing the postage privileges, abusing the photocopier was great. And just this like, I can squeeze in. I've done all the filing. The mail's not coming in for another 20 minutes. I've got 20 minutes to get as much done as I can. And this reminds me of a writer I knew who had a child. And at the time I was thinking about having a child. And I said, hey, how do you still get your creative work done? And she said, well, I'm forced to be very economical with my time. She said, it used to be I would wake up in the morning, I'd lounge around, I'd read the paper, I'd have a cup of coffee, and then maybe I'd get to the desk. She says, now it's like he's down for his nap. I have 27 minutes to write as much as I can. And so I think in some ways, there's almost an argument for don't give up your day job, because it forces you to be more productive artistically in the time you have.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. With all the projects that we have open and all this stuff, and almost like we're collecting them somewhat, do you think that it might be a form of mental clutter?
Oh,
like
it totally is.
Like we're hoarders.
I feel so guilty. Like there's all these tasks on my to-do list that it's like, realistically, I'm never going to do this. But I feel bad just hitting the delete button.
Yeah. I did something for myself this week. I created a master to-do list, and I have a column for Tortuga, I have a column for Mordant World, and I have a column for me, all my stuff that I have to do. And then underneath that, I have my daily stuff, and then underneath that, I have weekly stuff, and under that, I have calls.
How's that going?
It's going good, because the master list, most of the time I'll take note cards and write down what I have to do for the day.
Yeah.
Now I look at the master list and go, okay, I'm going to work on one from each column.
Yeah.
So I hit, all aspects of my life there, and at least hit it. I'm going to try to finish it, but at least hit it. And today was the first day of really working into that, and I got a couple of things done. It felt great.
That's awesome. And you have a measurable way to figure out what you got done, which is a great way towards getting to the finish line. There's a reason why marathon runners have a sense of how long the race is going to be.
Yes.
And we can't always determine how far ahead the finish line is, but like Charles says, we can look for those smaller successes and figure out where the little finish lines are on the way. I use an app that works on my phone and my computer called Things that lets me sort things by project, and I have a today box, and and I go through every day, and what I've started doing now is around 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I put everything into next week and then reselect the stuff I want to work on tomorrow.
Right.
And that helps me a lot. My goal is to get 25 things done a day off my list.
Wow.
But little things count, like, and like send 10 emails is one thing, make a phone call is one thing.
Laundry,
Sometimes
shower.
I put take a shower on there. It's an accomplishment, gosh darn it.
Well, with the I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, mental clutter. We talked about that.
So this is good too, because this is also something where I would also encourage people to look at their overall mission and then look at their to-do list and say, how does this item contribute to my mission? And if it doesn't contribute to the mission, try and let it go. Not everything on your list has to be done.
Or at least drop it down to the bottom of it, so it's like, this is not that important.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it,
Yeah,
or
let
even
some of
put
those
it,
things
create
go.
another section that says later.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found out in making this list, and I heard that this was going to happen, there's a bit of, my brain gets to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about what am I forgetting. So as I remember stuff, I need to remember to do this, I automatically add it to the master list.
Yeah.
So that I know, okay, it's there, and I look at this every day, so I'm not losing anything, and I'm not going to go, oh my God, I forgot this thing.
Yeah.
You know,
it's really important, I think, to write everything down, because then it clears mental space in your head. And that's a big component. There's a theory of how to get things done called getting things done. That's a big system that a lot of people use. And part of it is you've got to write everything down so that you can clear it out of your brain. And I think we've touched on 2 of what I would call the 4 main ways towards getting things done and crossing the finish line, which is games and competition. So you have like the game of, can I get one thing done in each category? And I have the competition with myself of, can I get 25 things done today?
Right.
I would say that one of the other of the main 4 ways to get things done is bribery.
Really?
Self-bribery. If I empty 5 emails out of the inbox, I can play 3 rounds of word bubbles, and then I'll do another 5 emails.
Word bubbles? Really?
Oh God, it's so good.
Don't tell my listeners. Don't tell my listeners. They'll start doing. Actually,
Yeah.
I created my own 4, and make it a game is one of them.
Yeah. What are your other 3?
I got, make a to-do list, because I'm all about that. Because that
To-do
works
list,
for me.
make a game. Uh-huh.
Turn off your distractions.
Uh-huh.
Reward yourself when a necessary task is complete.
Bribery.
Bribery. So,
Yeah.
but turn off the distractions with the thing: Facebook, TV, video games, texting, phone calls. Sometimes, especially if you're a writer, you have to turn off your phone, or at least turn it down so you can't hear it, so that people aren't interrupting your flow.
And it's okay to take that time. I mean, if we think back to the days when we all only had landlines, some of us did leave the house and were not available to our friends all day long. And it's okay not to be available. And in some ways, it's kind of like a little snobbish thing to be like, hey, sorry, man, it's been a couple hours. I've been working on my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think of the 4 things, my 4 ways to get things done: bribery, games, contests, and competition. So contests, can I get 25 things done today? Bribery, if I get 25 things today, I get to go get a pedicure. Games, one from column A, one from column B.
Right.
But also competition. Do you remember what we did when we were writing something a while ago, and you were working on your writing project and I was working on mine? And every day, I think we did this, 4 or 5 weeks running, where we had a combination of competition and bribery, where each of us had to email the other one 3 pages by the end of the day. And if we did it every day for a week, we bought each other a book at the end of the week. And if one of us missed a day, we owed the other one $100. Because the penalty has to be something real. The penalty has to be something that you would really hate to lose.
Yep, and I'll tell you, and it was you didn't put on such difficult strictures that you couldn't get it done. It's like, oh no, it's past midnight. Does that mean no? It's just before you go to bed.
Before you go to bed.
If it's 3 a.m, you're like, oh crap, I forgot to do my writing. Well, then you'd better do your writing, because you're going to give me $100.
And I think too, we also picked a manageable amount. It was 3 pages. It was not 30 pages. It was not 50 pages. It was not finish my novel. It was 3 pages. Can we just do 3 pages?
I don't think it was 3 pages. I think it was an amount of time, wasn't it? We put in
it
our
might have been
15
half an
minutes
hour or
20
something
minutes
like that. Yeah.
It was something that, like you said, it was
manageable.
Yeah, very manageable. It might have been a word count or something like that. But I also think, when you say competition, and if I look at that, it really wasn't competition with each other. We were in the race together, but I think we were in competition with ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very important, that you're not like, I'm going to beat this person. Because then that's what you're all about, and you're not really being creative.
But I think that kind of competition can also be valuable if you don't take it to extremes. I'm in a writing contest right now. I'm in week 36 of a year-long writing contest. We started with 337 people back in October. And now we are down to the top 18. And I am still in this contest. And every week they give us a topic, and everyone has to write something on that topic. And every week there is voting. And whoever has the least amount of votes Roberts, quote unquote, goes home. And I want to win because I'm competitive.
How many people are left?
We're down to the top 18. Oh. Yeah. And we should post in the show notes the address to this writing competition, which is The Real LJ Idol. That's The Real LJ Idol at livejournal.com or .livejournal.com. And I'm at whipchick.livejournal.com. And it's really cool. I mean, it's really creatively stimulating. There's writers from all over the world. I love reading other people's work. I love other people reading and commenting on my work. But what I love the most is that every week I write, whether I'm inspired or not, whether I like the topic or not, whether I have time or not. I write because if I don't write, I'm going to lose. And I hate losing more than I hate sitting down to do my work.
Right. Now, you talk about this as a competition, but you also told me you did something for somebody in this competition as well.
Oh yeah, there was a woman who was visiting her parents in England, and she was not going to have internet access from before the topic for the week was posted until after the deadline to write and submit your piece, between like her plane and her being in a tiny little village and her parents not having the net and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, dude, Holly, you need to email me your piece, because I'm like, you can either phone me on Skype and dictate it to me, or phone me on the cell phone and dictate it to me and I'll type it, or you can email it to me. And she was able to email it off her phone to me, and I posted it on my journal and then, posted the link to the contest so that everybody could see her piece. Because it's not fun to win because other people got knocked out by circumstances.
Right.
It's fun to win from being the best.
Right.
And I intend to be the... Can I say the F word?
No, you can't. We're going to bleep you. You should have just said it.
I intend to be the gosh darn best.
That's right. Remember, here on The Other Side of Live, we are Father-Mucker friendly.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Your children are going to be so motivated.
Yay! Now, if you call me on the phone, I'll cuss up a storm to you. So, call me then.
So I would say what maybe the listeners can take away from this is find the situation where whatever losing metaphorically is, you hate losing more than you hate doing the work. I would hate having to pay Mordant $100 more than I hate making 15 minutes to sit down and do my freaking work.
Right.
And again, back to the self-discipline thing, sitting down to do your work is not easy. Saying ass in chair, yeah, that is the secret. There is no magic, only practice. But ass in chair is hard.
Yes.
It is hard to turn off Facebook. It is hard to turn off your phone. It is hard to focus. And even when you are not inspired, do your work.
Even when even if it's something you love. Larry Bird, I read recently, Larry Bird, they say it was not the best of basketball players, but his free throw, he used to practice, ungodly amounts of time doing like 300 free throws or 1,000 free throws every morning, to the point that he was the best in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what made him do that. It may be just one aspect of what you love doing.
Yeah.
And if you concentrate on that, it makes you the best of the best.
Yeah. And think about, what do you love and what do you hate? What I hate is losing. What I love is recognition and pats. We all love compliments. We all love pats. We all love strokes. We all love being recognized. But for me, being recognized is a huge drive. It is very, very important to me to be recognized. And so I have found myself a venue, this contest, where I have spent almost a year generating publication-worthy material that after this contest I will submit to magazines and newspapers and websites and all kinds of places that publish, by giving myself the carrot of recognition and the stick of losing.
Right. And I think you're talking about the difference between positive drama and negative drama. You're talking about positive drama, so you're really entertained with all of the exciting things that are
the
positively...
kind of drama you get when you're running a race.
That's right. When you're moving forward in your life. Now, negative drama is something easy to get locked into as well, because then you can almost do nothing. In fact, you can do nothing, and then you get swept away by the negative drama, and then you get the pats and the strokes and the poor you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
you did not earn those pats.
You start thriving on that. And look, at least I'm getting attention, which is really not healthy for you, because then as you're getting older, you're like, well, if I break my hip, then maybe they'll look at me again, or my kids will call me.
I've fallen and I can't get up. I'll become a national metaphor.
The fourth thing on my list of things that we were talking about, make it a game and make a to-do list, turn off your distractions, was keep your eye on the prize. Don't forget your why. Instead of looking at all the crap you have to get through to get there, stay focused on the accomplishments and its benefits. When I was working as a painter's apprentice, I used to have to walk on this wall, a very narrow ledge of a wall, in order to get to certain areas that I was painting.
But Mordant, you're terrified of heights. How did you do it?
It was only 8 feet high, but I was scared. Instead of, when I looked at my feet, I would lose my balance. I would start to kind of go one way or the other. But if I looked at where I was going, I had no problemo.
As a professional circus performer, I feel obliged to tell you that is exactly how tightrope walkers do it. You never look at the wire. You always look ahead.
The more you know. I remember, and to put this more in a business frame, I was at Dow Garden in Thailand. In I think it was 2009, and my friend Serena was like, you should really record some of your meditation so that you have an audio thing, something that you can give to people or sell or whatever you want to do with it. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm too busy doing this. And eventually she kind of talked me into it, or I was like, something clicked in me. I said, okay, and I sat down on my butt and I worked with the Thai audio people, which they could not really understand me, and we just kind of grunted our way through it, and all of the recording and the computing and editing of it and everything like that. The whole time, if I had kept my attention stuck where I was there in that hot little room, I don't know that I would have gotten through it. But I kept thinking, this is going to be a good thing when I'm done. I kept looking what the end product was going to be. So I kept my eye on that prize. Yeah. And that kept me moving forward. Because otherwise, it's just like being in college. If you just look at, oh my God, I'm here for 4 years and I feel like I'm doing nothing, you're going to feel like you're not doing anything with your life. And you it's a weird place to be in college, and yet you feel like a loser. But if you keep yourself looking on what you're going to be accomplishing, what you're moving towards, that'll keep you going through it.
Yeah. And I think in some ways, that's a place where the analogy of taking a year off before college can be something that helps us cross the finish line as well. I've often advised students that I come into contact with, take a year off, get an internship, travel some. It helps you put in perspective why you're going to college and what you want to get out of it. And so I would say if there's someone listening who is trying to figure out how to get to their dream, if you can, attach yourself to someone with a similar dream. Do, a real internship or a pretend internship, or help them out a couple hours a week. Travel to a place that your dream takes place. Do something that lets you get your feet wet so that as you go through the steps, you've had a taste of the prize. And once you've had a taste of the prize, it's so much easier to stay hungry for it.
Right, absolutely. Charles, are you there?
Yeah, I was about to cut in or jump in and say I agree with what you're saying. When one of the questions we get all the time is, I don't even know what my passion is. How do I find it? I think that's how you find it right there. I know I love building computers. I did an actual semi-internship at a computer store to learn the ins and outs of building computers and to learn the ins and outs of running a computer store. I realized I did not like the people who came with their computer problems. That refined my dream, because I was all about doing stuff and fixing stuff and working my brain. I knew I had a message to get out to the world. I wanted to communicate. I went and chased a dream of being in a band. And that was almost like an internship, because we never really did anything, but it helped refine my passion. If you'd asked me 10, 15 years ago, what's your dream, it would have been totally different than what it is today. But through all the trial and error, and through all the internships, like Allison Williams just said, pairing yourself up with somebody who does what you want to do will help you find out if you really want to do it or if you really need to refocus your efforts.
Yeah. And I think one of the other ways, too, that you can help discover what your passion is try out things that you're interested in and accept that some of them may fail or be dead ends. Not every dream has to have a crossable finish line. Sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, I really thought I wanted this, but boy, it's been sucky for a long time and it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. And that may be a signal to let it go and let your life open up and be in that uncomfortable empty space for a while until you find something better.
Right. There's a saying that 9 out of 10 businesses fail, and that's why a lot of people don't go for it. But Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, said that just means you have to try at least 9 or 10 businesses.
Yeah.
You may get lucky in business number 3 or in business number 4, and that you can even count your lawn mowing business or your lemonade business as a kid or whatever it was. But that means that you have to try that many so that you can have one that's a really big banger? How committed are you to crossing that finish line? How committed are you to having a great life? I'm not even talking about just chasing and catching your dreams, that specific dream. Anything. Make it a game. Life is a game. Come to play. And you should be creating something that's enjoyable to you and the people around you. And if the people around you are not enjoying their lives, be careful, because that's contagious.
Yeah.
That kind of negativity is contagious.
And it helps too to notice, what do you enjoy? Do you feel your best and most excited when you're volunteering at your church? Do you feel your best and most excited when you are sewing a new dress for yourself? Do you feel your happiest when you are babysitting the neighbor's children? And those can be a really good door into your passion as well. Notice what you enjoy doing. I performed at a juvenile detention facility in Alaska a while ago, and it was a secure facility. Like the students who came in to watch our show, we were performing in the gymnasium. They were coming in groups, and you could tell which groups had the most privileges by how they were dressed. So the kids who had the worst behavior records and the least privileges, well, they were in shower sandals and sweatsuits, all alike. And the kids on the other end of the scope who had earned some privileges, they had shoes that had laces in them, and they had clearly dressed according to a very strict dress code, but in personal clothing. And after the show, we got to talking about, our jobs and why they were there and everything. And I got into a conversation with one of them, and I said, here's the challenge. I said, you're here because you're in trouble. Well, trouble is fun. Trouble is compelling. You and your friends getting into trouble is like the greatest adrenaline rush ever, because, you're doing the bank heist or you're doing the circus act, and if one of you screws up, you're all going down. And I said, so the challenge is, how do you find something that keeps you out of trouble that is as entertaining and engaging and compelling and fun as trouble? And I said, so if you can get a job doing something that compels you the way trouble compels you, then do that. Become a fire jumper, become a lifeguard, become a professional downhill skier, But if you can't, if you've got a Joe job, if you've got a job that's not your first choice, find something in your life that is as engaging and as compelling as getting into trouble. So notice what in your life gets you into trouble. What sounds like a good idea at the time, and notice what those things have in common. And that can be a really good clue to your passion too.
Right. And if you find that you don't have anything on the other side of the coin, if you don't have anything that's a more positive thing that really is compelling and really is attractive to you, if you have none of that in your life, then you might want to go out and look for hunt something down, because if all you have is the negative stuff, it's not going to be a great road for you.
And it's not just going to land in your lap.
Yeah.
You really do have to look for it and fight for it and explore for it and check it out and be willing to risk failure and be willing to risk loss of money, loss of dignity, be willing to risk your friends looking at you and going, wow, well, that failed, didn't it? And you have to be able to look back at them and go, yeah, it did. And this is what I learned. And I'm really excited about starting the next project.
Right, and watch them sit on their butts and laugh at you from the sidelines while you move forward with whatever that dream is going to be.
And it's okay if there's a couple of days along the way where you're curled up on your bed in the fetal position. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, because honestly, we're all there.
Yeah.
We're all there. We're all, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, bigger, better, better, more in our everyday lives, and how some of the things that are just normal everyday stuff is kicking our butts while we're trying to chase and catch these tremendous dreams that we have.
And it's not always easy, and it's not always fun, but once you cross the finish line, it's better than fun. It's fulfilling.
And you get some projects done. You get some stuff, some tabs closed on your internet browser.
So Mordant, what's open on your internet browser?
Well,
share with us some of the to-do list
that I can talk about.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff for the blog world and South by Southwest, because we're working on it. A few pages from Google Docs so that Charles and I can work on stuff together. A number of Facebook pages for people I have to write back and talk to. Mostly it's Mordant World stuff. There's some Tortuga stuff here as well.
When you say the thing about Facebook pages, I think one of the things that hampers me is feeling like everything I do has to be high quality. And one of the things that I'm learning as I get older is not everything has to be equally good. Not every Facebook friend is waiting for me to write them back 4 paragraphs of richly textured nuance. Some of them just want me to say, wow, that's really interesting. Glad to hear from you.
Right.
And that's helped me get a lot of things off my list and get across the finish line, is accepting that not everything has to be done to the best of my ability.
Right.
It's okay to half-ass some stuff.
Good copywriting, good advertising copywriting has bad grammar. And that's one of the things that I had to learn was like, but you're supposed to put a comma. That's not a real sentence. It's like, good copywriting has bad grammar. You write like you talk when you're doing copywriting, not when you're writing a novel.
Yeah.
Maybe not when you're, working on some of your stuff that you post.
Well, not when you're writing the part of your novel that's not dialogue.
Right. Right. And even, I'm going to say, even blogs, I say you can segue into bad grammar with blogs because that's a style.
Well, and if you have a distinctive voice, if you have established a voice that is not, I am an ignorant person, but a voice that is, I am a person who speaks colloquially and has a distinctive
Right. Don't
voice.
write crap and call it your style either, because then people won't read it, and then you're just stuck with a bunch of crap.
You got to know the rules before you can break them.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just like Captain Kirk. I don't know where that came from. Charles, save me. Are you there? Oh, I don't think he's there.
Wow.
He went to make a sandwich. Oh, you are there.
Damn it, Mordant, I'm a podcast host, not a savior.
Good one, Charles. Good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to weigh in on this topic? We got about 10 more minutes.
Yeah, you guys are talking about sit back and watch your friends laugh at you, and they will. Your wife, your husband, your kids, your parents, your closest friends will look at you like you're crazy. And I honestly cannot tell you how many times in my life that the closest people in my life did not get my vision, did not get my idea for a project. And Mordant, I think you and I have actually gone through that where you go, okay, if you say something like, yeah, I say something, let's just run with it.
Yeah.
And
3 weeks, 6
and-
weeks, 6 months,
And
you're proven right.
it's hard because they aren't mean people and they aren't bad people. They're
No.
people who genuinely love
Right.
you and want the best for you.
Well, they
Right,
love
they
you.
just can't see the bigger picture that you see. And you have to, I think in all of this, in crossing the finish line, there's 2 things I've heard tonight that didn't clearly get said in the words is, one, you have to be okay with failing. You have to fail to realize what you're doing wrong so you can do it right.
Yes.
But you get up and you do it right. That's how you cross the finish line. You got to be okay with failing, and you got to be okay with the world. Just they don't get you, so you got to know that you're being true to you.
Yeah. And I think that's part of knowing that you've picked the right passion is when you feel like you can defend it no matter what, and you feel like you can fight for it no matter what. I want to add something specifically for all of the women in the audience. 2 things that have been really hard for me are letting go of perfection, like letting myself halfway do some things or do some things that are not to the best of my ability, and asking for help. And I think that's something that is really challenging. And like, for example, right now I have this beautiful group of wonderful creative artists who have descended upon my home like locusts. And it's a little bit unexpected. And I like being a hostess. I like being a good hostess. I pride myself on it. I like having a welcoming home. I like having good people around. And I've tried really hard to remember it's okay to say, can you please unload the dishwasher? Can you put these things away? Can you handle this task for me? And not just say, oh, no, that's okay. I've got it. And it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay for things not to be perfect. People are here to hang out with each other and have an enjoyable creative time. They're not here to judge my ability to sweep a floor. So as far as I'm concerned, the housekeeper came Monday and it's all downhill from there.
Right, and everything seems to be working too. It's nice. Everybody is I've seen them jumping to do everything. And it wasn't, oh, yes, mistress, whatever you say. It was, no, I want to be able to help. So,
Yeah.
We all like a little guidance once in a while.
Yeah. And I think that's it. People genuinely like to help when they know what to help with. And so when you're working on your passion, find out if there's someone else who you can exchange help with. Like Mordant and I really enjoy setting up these little competitions with each other or competitions with ourselves that we jointly engage in to help each other get our work done. I know that, Mordant's also my personal friend, and as much as I hate to do it, I know that he's one of the people that if I need to, I can call him up in the middle of the night and whine about my life. And I try not to abuse that, but knowing that he could do that for me too makes me feel a little bit better about asking for help.
Yeah, and I think I have.
Yeah.
I've whined a little bit.
We whine.
That's right.
I think also you're talking about the disarray and the people aren't there to judge you. And that's what we forget. It's a work in progress. 4 years ago, I started doing bear crawling, and it was rough, but it was valid. And then 50 shows later, we got better. 50 shows later, I got better. Again, you repeat the process. Even now, I know where I want to go. I have a clear image in my mind of how I want it to be, but I can't get there yet. Does that mean I don't try now? No, I do what I can now with what I have. I ask for help. I get my friends to reach out, and we go forward with what we have, knowing that we'll get towards perfection later on.
Yeah. And I'm going to say too, don't be afraid to call on your own higher power for help as well. Like, I mean, I'm not an adherent of an organized religion, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs are not necessarily religious people, but whatever you're in touch with in terms of a higher power or a guiding power, don't underestimate the power of allowing that to be in your life as well. It can be very helpful.
That was perfect.
Or Smog the Dragon. Yeah.
I think
that
that's
was our timer, Jabba the Hutt.
I think that what Allison said is very true. You know, whatever, I talk a lot about stirring the quantum soup, whatever connects you to the divine and helps you believe that whatever gets you moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that belief system is, and, you know, I believe that as long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're, you know, pro people and moving forward with that, whatever gets you out of bed to do this and do this with a smile on your face and make the world a better place for yourself and everybody else.
And I think that particular strategy for help can also help you put things in perspective where it's like, okay, this really sucks. I'm in a terrible place right now, but you know, the world's not going to end. I'm really a very small player in the world as a whole. And that can be something that's very useful for moving forward as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are very close to our end here. Charles, do you have any parting thoughts?
Always invest in others. When you can't get towards your goal, or you don't even know what your goal is, focus on helping other people be awesome, if I'll steal that from Mordant. Yeah, that is his. But helping others be awesome, if you do that, you'll find your passion naturally.
Yeah, but I think that plays into planning it forward. You know, not just paying it forward, but you're planting it forward. You're planting that seed. Here, I'm going to help you. Eventually, it'll come back to me, that law of reciprocity. It's not necessarily why I'm doing it, but I know it's going to come back to me. And if you believe that and you continue to look for that, you'll actually see it happening, which will then cause you to do more to help other people again.
Yeah, I agree.
So any parting words for you, Allison Williams?
Yeah, I would say remember, it's not just a little self-discipline. Self-discipline is an achievement all in itself, and embrace bribery, games, contests, and competition. Allow yourself to move forward in whatever way you can. Moving forward counts no matter how small a step it is.
That's right. Cross that finish line. Do whatever you have to do. For me, it's make a to-do list, turn off your distractions, make it a game, and, of course, keep your eye on the prize. Now, Allison Williams, pimp yourself out.
Oh, yeah. Well, right now I'm in a writing contest called The Real LJ Idol. It's on LiveJournal. My stuff is at whipchick.livejournal.com. And if you enjoy my stuff, you can vote for it at therealljidol.livejournal.com.
All right. Is there a link to that on your Facebook page?
There will be.
And where will they find your Facebook page?
You know what? Actually, it's probably just better for me to put it on the Mordant page.
All right, we'll do it that way. We'll do it that way. Well, thank you very much. I'm so glad that you were here today. Those of you who are listening to us on the podcast, we are live every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time at mordantworld.com/NAS, and of course the NAS stands for No Agenda Stream. Those of you who are listening to us live, you can find old episodes of The Other Side of Live at theothersideoflive.com. Or you can, of course, we are also available on iTunes.
Yeah, and if you like me, I think I'm on episode 10.
She is. That's right. Branding Your Passion, episode 10 with Allison Williams.
Yeah.
Charles, what do you got?
You can find more of me every morning at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Coffee and Chaos and Coffee. I said it wrong. Chaos and Coffee here on No Agenda Stream, on the archives at bearcrawling.com, and currently going through the reformatting of Bear Crawling Live, and that's every Thursday night right here on No Agenda Stream.
Have you changed the title yet?
No, not until I get a new intro. I won't do that.
All right. You can also find me at mordantworld.com, and if you would like to see any of my video blogs, my vlogs are at mordantworld.tv. So that's something I've been doing since about 2010, and there's almost 300 of them there, so you might as well take a look.
He's pretty in person.
Not right now, I'm not.
That's a pretty in pink.
I am pretty in pink. You shut up now. Now you can find Charles at bearcrawlingnation.com. He is also on Instagram under @bearcrawling, and of course you can find me at Mordant World on Instagram.
And you can find out more about Allison Williams at angelsintheair.com, which is my circus company, Aerial Angels. Again, that's angelsintheair.com.
Great. Well, our guest tonight has been
Allison Williams.
This is our Mordant Mon.
And the no internet bear.
Oh, poor Charles McFall from Bear Crawling Nation. He is so sad. He will have to semaphore his stuff to us or send it by carrier pigeon. That was a beautiful pigeon coo. That was gorgeous.
I think that's it. That's all, folks. Ciao, dream catchers.
Good night.
So raise your glass if you are wrong.
Boom, baby.